Hello, welcome to Reality Check. President Ram Nath Kovind has now become the 14th president of India, and that perhaps was only to be expected. He won by a very comfortable margin, and that was also to be expected. There was a certain amount of cross-voting, perhaps to be expected. Maybe some were thinking it could have been more, so there was a certain amount of cross-voting on both sides. And we are, during the course of this program, going to take a look at some of the numbers and try and understand them and try and interpret them. We also had some very interesting comments that were being made by various politicians after he was actually announced as the winner, and then of course greeted, as you can see in those pictures, by Narendra Modi, by Amit Shah and by a range of others. And some questions were also thrown up as to what the role of the president should be and what is the role that he is going to be fulfilling, which again we will discuss with all of our guests and experts on this program. But before we do that, let's just quickly show you what the new president of India said just after he realized that he had won that election, and also what Meera Kumar had to say in her concession speech.
व्यक्तिगत रूप से मेरे लिए ये बहुत ही भावुक क्षण है। आज दिल्ली में सुबह से बारिश हो रही है। बारिश का ये मौसम मुझे बचपन के उन दिनों की याद दिलाता है जब मैं अपने पैतृक गांव में रहा करता था। आज देश में ऐसे कितने ही रामनाथ कोविंद होंगे जो इस समय बारिश में भीग रहे होंगे, कहीं खेती कर रहे होंगे, कहीं मजदूरी कर रहे होंगे, शाम को भोजन मिल जाए इसके लिए पसीना बहा रहे होंगे। आज मुझे उनसे कहना है कि परौंख गांव का रामनाथ कोविंद राष्ट्रपति भवन में उन्हीं का प्रतिनिधि बनकर जा रहा है।
विचारधारा और मूल्यों की ये लड़ाई जारी रहेगी, क्योंकि हमारे देश के बहुत सारे लोग इसमें विश्वास करते हैं। सामाजिक न्याय, पारदर्शिता, सबको ले चलने की हमारी इच्छा, धर्मनिरपेक्षता, प्रेस की आजादी, अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी, जाति पाति का विनाश, हम ये सब चाहते हैं और निरंतर इसके लिए इतनी ही शक्ति के साथ लड़ते रहेंगे।
All right, so we have lots to talk about and lots of guests actually to talk about all of that with. So I'm going to start off by welcoming Mr. Balshankar, who is a member of the BJP Training Committee, also looks at publications. We have Pawan Khera here from the Congress Party. It's great to have you with us. Professor Rakesh Sinha is with us as well. RSS Vicharak, Devashri Jharariya is joining us, spokesperson of the Bahujan Samaj Party. We're going to be joined in just a couple of minutes by KC Tyagi of the JDU, and it's a privilege and a pleasure to have with us Mr. N. Ram, one of the country's most respected and senior journalists. So thank you all so much for being with us. Now, before I get into what was said in those speeches and some of the ideological aspects of this, let's just turn our attention to the numbers for a minute, and we'll see the numbers flashing up. 65% for Ram Nath Kovind, perhaps only to be expected, 35% for Meera Kumar. And then this happened. These were the cross-voting numbers that actually took place. In Gujarat, a certain number of Congress MLAs cross-voted, voted the other side. Punjab also, Goa, West Bengal, there were 5 MLAs. Interestingly, 21 MPs, for some bizarre reason, actually ended up being defaulters. They couldn't vote correctly, and that's a matter of some surprise. How tough could it possibly be to mark a simple line in a box? But apparently 21 MPs weren't able to cast their vote. And then in addition to this, as we saw from tweets from Sachin Pilot, a certain number of MLAs in Rajasthan seem to have cross-voted on the other side. So these are all the various cross-voting that did happen, and it needs to be looked at. Pawan Khera, why don't I start off with you? A lot of those seem to be Congress MLAs who have cross-voted, voted the other side. So not only is the opposition having the embarrassment of having Nitish Kumar and others supporting the NDTV candidate, perhaps an embarrassment that could have been avoided if you had named your candidate a little earlier, but in addition there has been a certain amount of cross-voting in the other side, and particularly in Gujarat, that might be a issue of some concern for you. Gujarat elections are approaching, and it seems that the Bapu factor there should be causing you some headaches.
Vikram, first of all, it's not a, we don't issue, no party issues a whip for president's election. It's a vote of conscience. And when you say cross-voting, I'm sorry, it only shows a one-way traffic. It's a crisscross voting. 10 MLAs, we only have 24 MLAs in Rajasthan, but 34 votes we got from for the UPA candidate. Sikkim, Himachal, Rajasthan, Bihar, we got 2 extra votes. Where from? So I wouldn't say, you're making it sound as if it's, it's a tsunami in their favor. No, it's crisscross.
I said there was
It's crisscross.
I said there was cross voting in both sides, and I referred to Rajasthan and saying yes, there was a certain.
No, not a certain number. 10 is huge. We have 24 MLAs and we get 34. So I mean, it's normal. It happens in all president's elections. It's not something new. It's not happened for the first time.
Are you concerned about Gujarat?
We are concerned about every election.
Okay. Are you concerned about Rajasthan? Because as you said, there are 24 MLAs, 34 voted. So is there some reason for Vasundhara Raje to be concerned out there?
No, we had to look into the details of it. But as I say it, the fact that our presidential candidate got across the party lot of support, and from even UPA side, we got so many parties supporting us. So that is the most important part. As far as we are concerned, we have been able to project a candidate who is acceptable to a larger section of the society and also to the political spectrum. And the fact that some opposition parties also joined us in supporting, that is more important.
Yeah, and I think there are important lessons to take from the presidential election, and by the way, from the vice presidential election, which is just about to come up, for what could happen or not happen to opposition unity, and that is certainly a theme that I'm going to turn to in some detail. But Mr. Ram, why don't I just come to you and get your take on the numbers that we have seen? Are there any interesting stories that are coming up and catching your attention, including the crisscross voting that Pawan Khera and Mr. Balashankar were referring to? Yes, there is a certain amount of crisscross that has happened, not massive, but a certain amount of crisscross voting that's happened, but also the overall numbers. What caught your eye?
I don't think it's very significant. What was significant was the JDU doing what it did earlier, and maybe and then its reverse course. But I don't think too much significance needs to be attached to this cross voting, and particularly the voting away from, some people would like to back the winning candidate. There could have been other calculations, Dalit votes and so on. So I don't know. We have to look at it carefully, but I don't think it's a big deal.
All right. So you don't think that's the particularly big deal what's happened. On the question of opposition unity, do you have any interpretation of what this could mean? JDU now has gone back in the vice presidential election, and who knows, that might actually be a more interesting and a closer contest with what the numbers are, although the NDA seems to have a clear advantage there as well. Would you be giving a lot of attention to the vice presidential election, or more to what the maneuverings now there will be between the opposition in the build-up to 2019?
Yes, I think this has to be watched, and I think the JDU is very open, and they're open to negotiations. And Sonia Gandhi's Congress President Sonia Gandhi is reaching out to them. I think seems to have worked to a certain extent. So that's not lost. Somehow I don't, Vikram, I don't buy this idea that just because people announce the candidate first, you're obliged morally or politically to vote for them. And, I think that may have been an excuse or a reason cited to justify something that was done for other reasons.
Well, okay, let's put that straight to the JDU. We do have Mr. K.C. Tyagi, who's the Secretary General and the spokesperson, now joining us. Mr. Tyagi, you voted for Ram Nath Kovind today. Nitish Kumar is coming for his swearing in, so you're clearly backing him. Is this a one-off because it was Mr. Kovind, then you'd had dealings with him and you respected him? Was it because of the Dalit factor and the fact that he was named first? Or is this something which we're going to be seeing? The JDU is going to try and play both sides of the spectrum right now to see where eventually you will end up, well, getting a better deal or being better settled.
नहीं, जिस दिन नीतीश कुमार जी ने कोविंद जी को जेडीयू के समर्थन की घोषणा की थी, उन्होंने कहा था दिस इज ए वन टाइम अफेयर, दिस इज एन आइसोलेटेड इंसिडेंट. लेकिन उसके बाद भी हमारे मित्रों ने ऐसा कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट किया कि जैसे हम कोई दूसरे रास्ते पे जा रहे हैं.
जी.
उसके बाद उपराष्ट्रपति वाला है. उससे पहले मैं एक चीज जरूर कहना चाहता हूं, मेरे कांग्रेस के मित्र बैठे होंगे, उनको अन्यथा ना लगे जेडीयू, टीएमसी, लेफ्ट और एनसीपी वो इस राय के थे कि नॉन कांग्रेस किसी नेता को या सिविल सोसाइटी के आदमी को बनाया जाए। 3 जून को जब सारे नेता इकट्ठा थे चेन्नई में तो ब्रॉड बेस बन गया था कंसेंसस गोपाल कृष्ण गांधी के नाम पे, और सीताराम येचुरी ने आई एम ऑन रिकॉर्ड ऑन सेइंग नीतीश कुमार जी से हाँ कराई थी कि ये कैसे रहेंगे, उन्होंने कहा ठीक रहेंगे। तो हम ये मान के चलते थे कि शायद उनके नाम की घोषणा होगी। अब मैं उस पुरानी बात को दोहराना नहीं चाहता, लेकिन तभी अगर उनके नाम की घोषणा हो गई होती तो मैं एनराम जी को बताना चाहता हूं जेडीयू, बीजेडी, शिवसेना ये सब आपके साथ होते। और मैं अपने कांग्रेस के मित्र से अफसोस के साथ कहना चाहता हूं, जिस तरह का बीजेपी का होमवर्क रहता है आपके होमवर्क में कमी रही। किसी ने भी इंडियन नेशनल लोकदल के नेता ओम प्रकाश चौटाला जी से बातचीत नहीं की। वेंकैया नायडू जी जेल में मिलने के लिए चौटाला जी से जाते हैं, बट आप यू डोंट टॉक टू हिम। दिल्ली में आम आदमी पार्टी है, वो दिन के दिन तक आपका इंतजार करती रही। कोई भी कांग्रेस पार्टी का नेता इसलिए कि आपकी दिल्ली की लीडरशिप नाराज ना हो जाए उनसे संपर्क नहीं करते। तो कांग्रेस का जो होमवर्क है वो बीजेपी के मुकाबले में अच्छा नहीं था। अब जब सलाह मशवरे के बाद आपने जल्दी कैंडिडेचर किया है तो हम सब लोग तो आपके साथ रहे और बीजेडी को और अपने साथ ले आए। इसलिए जेडीयू को
प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन की बात कर रहे हैं,
हम इधर हैं।
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन में भी अगर एक सूटेबल ऑपोजिशन कैंडिडेट होता तो आप शायद उस तरफ वोट दे सकते थे। He's basically saying you should have done a lot more work, you should have worked harder at getting a consensus. And by the way, there are lessons from that, both for the vice presidential election and certainly in the build-up to 2019.
I
the
mean,
days of the Congress thinking it can impose its views on the rest of the opposition are gone. You're going to have to work together with everyone.
Congress never believed in imposing. That's incorrect. But I agree with him. There are lessons to be learned for everyone, for the winners and the losers, both in every election and every contest. But having said that, if he's saying the Shiv Sena was ready to support Gopal Krishan Gandhi as president, why can't it support him as vice president? I mean, as for vice presidential thing, the Shiv Sena is the only party which is raking up some silly issue against him because he filed for a mercy, this thing, he's against capital punishment. So, I mean, these are not things that we should discuss post facto. I mean, it's over and done with. Now, let's start discussing the future now.
All right, fine, that's water under the bridge. But let me ask you now, Devashish, because again, as I'm saying, the points that Mr. Tyagi is raising, and the reason why this is an important question, Ram Nath Kovind is an ex-president of India, and it was always very clear he would win and win by a comfortable margin. But the issues that are being raised will be important if efforts are to be made to get opposition unity on other questions, not just the vice presidential election, other issues in the run-up to 2019. What would you like to say? What were some of the important factors that came up? What would you like to see the JDU and the Congress and others doing if the Bahujan Samaj Party is to join in?
See, first of all, I find that in this presidential election, our party, apart from being 0 seats in Lok Sabha and few numbers in Rajya Sabha and 19 seats in Uttar Pradesh, we have come forward to combine whole opposition of one single name, that a new Dalit face should be introduced from the opposition party. Only then BSP is going to support them instead of Ram Nath Kovind. So that's a huge thing that has come for us.
So the fact that Meera Kumar was named, you think that Bahujan Samaj Party played a role in
that? They have
and so that's in a sense contrary to that. But going forward, how involved is the Bahujan Samaj Party going to be?
See, forward you have seen that Mayawati has resigned from the post of the MP from Rajya Sabha, and this is going to play a huge role in the politics of this country forward. As we have seen that RJD is backing us, and meanwhile Samajwadi Party also is going to back us. We will definitely going to see a new face of Dalit politics.
Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party working together. It's a new chapter.
It's going to be a new chapter, definitely. I hope so.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Tyagi ji, so are we? There are a lot of people saying today is also signaling, and this week is going to be signaling a change in the way politics works. If you look at it from one point of view, you've got a Dalit president, you've got OBC prime minister, may well have an OBC, vice president also coming from the NDA. So the NDA is reinventing itself to a certain extent as a pro-poor and certainly reaching out to the Dalits and the backward castes. Is the opposition also going to be seeing major realignments taking place. We're seeing, for example, Bahujan Samaj Party, Samajwadi Party saying we can start to work together, maybe reaching out to the JDU as well?
नहीं, बहुजन समाज पार्टी के जो मेरे मित्र कह रहे हैं, ये पहली बार मैंने सुना है कि वो समाजवादी पार्टी के साथ मिलकर के चुनाव भी लड़ सकते हैं।
नहीं सर,
अगर ऐसा होता है,
this is my assumption, this is my view.
अच्छा, दिस इज योर, यस यस यस, दिस इज योर व्यू। लेकिन वहां पर जो मायावती जी कहती है और करती है उन्हीं का व्यू चलता है। लेकिन विक्रम, मैं एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज बताना चाहता हूं। लोकसभा चुनाव में बिहार के अंदर 182 सीटों पर बीजेपी प्लस लीड की सीट थी असेंबली कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में। जेडीयू, आरजेडी और कांग्रेस का गठबंधन बना तो हम लोगों ने 3/4 के बहुमत से वहां पे चुनाव जीता है। उत्तर प्रदेश में 2014 के लोकसभा चुनाव में 318 विधानसभा क्षेत्रों में बीजेपी प्लस का लीड था
जी।
विधानसभा के चुनाव में सपा, बसपा, कांग्रेस और लोकदल, जेडीयू को भी छोड़ दीजिए, चारों मिलकर के अगर चुनाव लड़ते हैं तो 324 सीटें अपोजिशन के हिस्से में आती हैं।
ठीक है,
अफसोस की बात यह है कि बीजेपी को तो हम
These are questions that no doubt we will turn a lot of attention to. There's still 2 years to go for 2019, but we will work on that. I want to get Rakesh Sinha in on a slightly different question, and then I'm going to throw it to all of you to get your sense of it. We heard Meera Kumar today saying that ours is the battle of ideology, and it's that ideological aspect of it is very important. Now, Ram Nath Kovind, so a member of the, of course, of the BJP, has had links with the RSS, although he may not have been a pracharak. At the end of the day, he is now the president of India, and in a sense, his only ideology from this point onwards should be the constitution of the country. We saw, for example, Raman Singh tweeting and saying and making a statement saying this is a victory of the BJP and the RSS ideology. Is there an ideological component to this right now, or is he now just the president of India, the president of all Indians, above all ideology, only looking at the constitution?
The answer Ram Nath Kovind ji himself has given when he was declared the presidential candidate. He said, now I would be the president of all 125 crore people. It's not a question of becoming a formal member of any organization. It's a question of changing narrative of this country. The perception-based ideological war against the BJP and RSS is now over, because the people have realized, you know, the RSS has groundwork. There is no monolithic Dalit movement in this country. There is a diversity among the Dalits, and RSS one wing, I am giving you the Seva Bharati, has a huge work among the Dalits.
Okay.
That is one of the reasons that a large part of Dalits are getting attracted to the RSS. But it's
a political point, and we'll turn to it politically. I'm just asking you specifically because today we have a new president. I'm asking you, what role would you like to see him performing? At the end of the day, we saw Kancha Elaya earlier in the day. I was speaking to him. He said he would like to see him being activist for Dalit causes. Are there members of the RSS who would like to see him taking an activist role in ideological positions? Or would you like to just see him following the constitution, and that is his only responsibility as a president? What would you like to see?
Bikram, two things are here. Role of President of India is well defined in the constitution.
Right.
Anyone who is entering the Raisina Hill, he has to play the role which is already defined. But President makes impact on the social philosophy of the government. And his speech, his first speech, is a core. He contains the values, espouses the values of egalitarianism. Indira Gandhi inserted socialism in 1976, but secularism was just a narrative for elite discourse. Now, here Ram Nath Kovind's speech already is a message to the people that government social philosophy must be to uplift the larger masses who have been marginalized.
Okay, and Ram, we've just seen an example of how you're having a president who's been a Congress person all his life in Pranab Mukherjee, eventually did get a working relationship going with Narendra Modi to the extent that Mr. Modi said he played a role of a mentor and a guide to me. That shows that at the end of the day, the president eventually overcomes whatever party affiliation there may have been, an ideological affiliation, to be the president of the country. And I think Pranab Mukherjee showed that. What is it that you would be expecting of Ram Nath Kovind now as the 14th president of India?
Vikram, I'd go back to the statement you made that the president must uphold the values of the constitution, and the idea of Hindu Rashtra is profoundly antithetical to the idea of India that our constitution reflects and expresses so beautifully. Having said that, when he becomes president, Sir Ram Nath Kovind must set that aside, set rules for himself. But if you just give me a minute, I'd like to recall a very fine statement, a very fine formulation that one of our finest presidents, President K.R. Narayanan, made. This was in a conversation with me, which was broadcast on Doordarshan and All India Radio on 14th of August 1999. And in response to the question which you raised earlier, what's the role of a president in our scheme, in a constitutional scheme? He said, my image of a president before I came here was that of a rubber stamp president, to be frank. I'm quoting. That's the image I had, but having come here, I find that's not quite correct. Somehow, then he says, this is, I think, the key point. My image of a president is of a working president, not an executive president, but a working president, and working within the four corners of the Constitution.
Okay, Mr. Ram.
Then he went on to explain very little direct power to influence, it has to be indirect.
All right.
And you have to have popular opinion on your side. That's the point.
Mr. Ram, I'm going to quickly, I'm almost out of time. I just want to get quick reaction. Pavan Khera.
I'm quite amused at my friend Rakesh Sinha paying rich tributes to the Dalit cause which RSS espouses. I'm sorry, if there was no Gujarat 2002, we would not have had Kalam. If there was no Una and Saharanpur, we would not have Mr. Kovind. That's a simple fact.
No,
you cannot deny this.
I'm going to try and keep the
Mira's candidature was in reaction to Ram Nath Kovind.
I am talking about the reaction of Mr. Kalam to
Dalits have been marginalized for the last 6 decades.
I am talking about the reaction.
Can we continue the political argument in just 2 minutes, Mr. Balshankar? At the end of the day, what N. Ram said, that at the end of the day, following the Constitution and making sure that behind the scenes, whatever checks and balances are important in a democracy, that fundamentally is what we should be looking to Mr. Kovind for.
Exactly, because Prime Minister himself had, during his election campaign, very clearly said that I have only one book, and that is the Constitution of India. The President of India will definitely follow the Constitution of India, and he will uphold the Constitution, and by upholding, he will be giving a tenure as the best president that India has ever seen.
And you would be okay that even if that means that sometimes having a check and balance on the government, because that in a sense is the role of the president.
No, definitely that is enshrined in the Constitution, and definitely that will be there.
Pavan,
but
is that going to be a crucial part of it?
Absolutely. We have absolute faith in the founding fathers, the way they created this Constitution. No president can step out of that framework. Our only concern is with the government. Pranab Mukherjee issued timely warnings for course correction to this government when there was akhlaq. Even the Prime Minister was forced to then actually comment on that episode in the Bihar campaign.
Okay. David Chase, last word from you. I'm out of time.
See, whatever happens in this country, but the Bahujan movement, what has led the Bahujan movement has taken this country up to this moment that we are talking on the Dalit issues, we are talking on the Dalit president, and I think in discourse of this debate, as we speak further, we'll see more and more upcoming events in proper reaction, action form, not in just in Man Ki Baat, but Kaam Ki Baat also on these Dalit issues.
All right, I'm afraid we are out of time on today's episode of Reality Check. President Ram Nath Kovind, the 14th President of India, he's won 65% of the vote, and he'll now be taking over. We still have to have the election for the Vice President. Let's see what the numbers are and how they add up in that particular case. That's all we've got time for right now. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye for now.